Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Run Dry. It was written by Alex Randall and performed here by his band Something Slight as one of 2 singles released for their Wild Horse studio sessions. Be sure to check out these latest singles along with other singles and their self-titled debut album wherever you get your music. They'll be performing very soon at the Ned General Store, so be sure to stay tuned for this episode of the Mountaineer Podcast to learn more about that performance. To learn more about the band as a whole, be sure to head to their Instagram at somethingslight_music.
The wind speaks in waves, only she understands. She'll share those secrets with no other man. The glow of her skin, the dress that she wore.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to Music of the Mountains, where to be and what to see, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I'm really excited because over the next couple of days, I'll be getting out more community-centered episodes of the Mountaineer Podcast. But for today, I wanted to bring you our regularly scheduled Music of the Mountains episode. Before we get into today's interview, some preliminary announcements. If you haven't subscribed to The Mountaineer and you want to support local news from peak to peak, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com today to click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage and get access to our digital archives and scanned copies of our physical newspaper. You can also choose to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or to the mailbox of someone that you love. If you're interested in being involved in the newspaper and or the podcast in any way, shape, or form, be sure to email our editor-in-chief, Barbara Hart, at info@themountaineer.com, myself at media@themountaineer.com, or our information department at frontdesk@themountaineer.com to learn more about what options are available in terms of promotion, advertising, interviews, etc. Also, if you're interested in learning what advertising packages are available, be sure to head to the mtnear.com/advertise. And finally, our top story today, brought to you by Brittany Wagner.
Our top story today comes from Dave Gibson, Buck for the Badge. Thousands of lives are saved every year by the 4.6 million firefighters, law enforcement officers, and emergency medical technicians in the United States. Dedicated to the people they serve, they sometimes lose their own lives in the process. To show our gratitude for their service, in 2016, Steve Henry began staging rodeos to raise money for the critically injured and families of fallen emergency responders from Colorado who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. For the full story, you can read it in this week's Mountaineer or read it at themountaineer.com.
All right, now let's get into this week's Music of the Mountains interview. Our guest this time around, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm Theo Snead. I am one of the 2 lead guys for Something Slight. Alex is the other lead guy, and I play acoustic guitar and mandolin and write half the songs, and Alex writes the other half. But yeah, that's me.
And Something Slight will be co-headlining with Canyon Collective at the Ned General Store for the Equinox party very soon.
Yeah, that is on the 20th September, and we'll be playing with Canyon Collective, which is our first time playing with them. Zach Hedstrom has put stuff together, helped put it together with us, and we're super stoked to play at General Store because we've played the Gold Hill General Store a bunch, and it'll be nice to move down into Netherland, and first time playing in Netherland too, so it'll be a fun night.
So how did Something Slight begin as a band?
Yeah, so Alex and I have been good friends since college, and we had always kind of played some music together, but never really put a band together. And I had been living in Texas at the time when Alex was living in Boulder, and Alex was selling his amp, the Fender Deluxe amp, and the person that picked it up was Casey Romeo, and he was getting it to play pedal steel with, and Alex was like, oh, well, we should jam. And so they started to jam, and then I ended up moving up to Boulder to live with Alex. And then we all sort of started jamming together. And then Casey was in another band, the Elijah Petty band. And he asked to sort of join a show with them for us to play with them. And then we had a buddy named Livingston that was playing bass. We know that he's like super talented. And we were like, oh, we should try and get him to play bass with us. And then as it turns out, he was also in the Elijah Petty band. So our first show ended up being at Roxy on Broad. And then we've kind of picked it up since and slowly got shows just through asking around, and we all sort of started off with the influences, mostly Americana sounding, folky, country, but we definitely bring in a lot of different influences. So sometimes it's a little rock and rolly, sometimes it's a little bluesy. But yeah, we've been playing for about 2.5 years now, and we have an album out, which definitely progressed a lot of our playing some bigger shows and getting our name out there, which has been very helpful, and we had a good response on the album. So yeah, but the background story is just funny that it was like two of our band members that they knew each other, but they didn't know that they knew us. And then we started a band. Yeah.
So to recap, the current lineup is Theo Snead, Alex Randall, Casey Romeo, and Livingston Brown. And Elijah Petty's band is called Elijah Petty and the Part-Times. And where did Something Slight as a name come from?
Well, right before the first show at Roxy on Broad, we were kind of talking about it over text, and I was like, just randomly was like, how about we go with Something Slight? And I've always loved band names that have the enza at the end, so like Something Slight and initially it was like Something Slight and the TCA, which would be like Theo, Casey, and Alex, and then we swiftly dropped that and just kept Something Slight. Yeah, so random has not much influence behind it, but definitely has stuck. So.
And what's been your musical background in particular, Theo? When did you start, and how have you developed your musical performances over the years?
Yeah, I started playing guitar when I was in ninth grade. That would have been like 2008, I think. And slowly progressed and moved into trying to play my own thing and writing songs. I think towards the end of high school, I finally wrote a couple of my own tunes. They're all very silly, but definitely got me started in that realm. And then I followed more of the singer-songwriter route than like intense guitar playing or learning as well. So I'm not totally phenomenal on the guitar, but I definitely try and bring forward more of the writing and rhythm sides of things. But Alex rips the electric, and I know Livingston does too. He's kind of an all-around phenomenal artist. But yeah, that sort of started the background. I've always had the folk influence, and I grew up a lot around bluegrass, and I slowly moved my way into really liking country music. And I think over the last like 6 or so years, I've taken more of a deep dive into that. And so some of the influences that I initially gathered were like Townes Van Zandt, had always been a fan, Guy Clark, and then I slowly moved into like really loving Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, and I really like some contemporary artists that try and bounce off of, like Jesse Daniel is a country artist who's rad, and Vincent Neil Emerson is a really big favorite of mine. Yeah, and then some of the writing. Lou Hazel is also like an incredible writer that I've been listening to a lot lately and really enjoy his music. But yeah, that's sort of the slow transition, but the heavy writing for me came when I was in Austin. I was living alone and I had a ton of time on my hands to just sort of sit down and think and write, and a lot of the songs that we play now came out of that period for me. And I think Alex had a similar experience where he was at home, and a lot of the songs that we play now, he was during COVID, just had time at home where he was able to file out a bunch of tunes. And yeah, that's kind of where we've gotten to now.
So do you and Alex primarily write the songs for the group? Do the band frequently contribute to the writing process? And what keeps you guys coming back to the writing process as a whole?
It's kind of variable. I think that because Alex and I wrote all these songs pretty separately and in the singer-songwriter space kind of alone, we've navigated it in a similar way. So like the band, we've brought a lot of the songs to the band and we've worked out how it would sound, and everybody's input on it and role in it is really kind of pushing a lot of what we had already written. And so we haven't really done too much writing from scratch as a band together, which I think we'll definitely get into. But yeah, as far as the direct process for me, it kind of varies. Alex and I have talked about it, how there's, might sound kind of silly, but there's just sort of a spirit that could come through and you're like, oh, wow, it's right there and it comes out really quickly and it's smooth. And some of my favorite songs I've written have been in that, where it's been like 10 minutes and I have a song down. And then there's other times I write a bunch of stuff in my like phone notes app, especially on the plane when I don't have anything to do. I'll like just write out thoughts and then I'll forget about them. And then I'll be trying to put a song together and then I'll be like, oh, let me go check the notes. And I've written a couple songs by going back and getting a hook from that or getting a verse and like being able to finish it in the moment when I'm in the writing space. And yeah, that's been my method of late. But yeah.
So as I was researching you guys before this interview, there was one song of yours that kept popping up in frequent releases and in pretty much everything that I saw that came up with your name. And that song is called The Painter and the Priest. What about this song has stuck out to you and potentially the people that listen to you?
I can't really speak for why exactly it has stood out to folks. I know it's a story of my grandparents, and my grandma was Phyllis. She was a portrait artist, and then my grandfather was an Episcopalian minister, and more or less a story about them. I think that songs with storytelling that paint a picture or almost give you a short bit of like a movie almost, where there's sort of a beginning, middle, and end, definitely help attract people to it. I think that the band behind that song is super, super good. Casey's pedal steel is incredible on it, and then we got some bass playing and drums is all great, and all was recorded up in Boulder in our house, or at least the drums and bass were, and then we kind of pieced it together in Alex's basement for the first release. And I think fortunately some algorithm help picked it up and kind of got some coverage on Spotify, which is really nice. I think Americana Fest put it on one of their like playlists, which was really cool, but I couldn't give like an exact reason why. But it's one of my favorite songs I've written, and it's one I'm really happy and honored that we have people behind it that want to play it and push it forward. And the second release, we just wanted to do some live sessions in Front Range Productions with Ryan and Nick, who are phenomenal recording artists themselves too. And then also they have like a really cool recording studio, and we did those live sessions with them and change it up a little bit. I think it got a little bit cleaner, and we just wanted to push those out. So just kind of repeated, running off of some of what that algorithm was giving us and trying to keep that rolling. And it's definitely a song that we're all pretty proud about. So I think that that's more or less why we kept pushing it out and where the traction came from.
And what do you love most about being able to perform live and share all this music with an audience?
I think it had been Alex and I's goal for a really long time after we had written these tunes to really get it shared. A lot of it's about personal experience through our life, things that really mean a ton to us. And I think some of the weight of getting that out has been why we've really wanted to play live, and the feeling of it and seeing people respond to it or not respond to it is really quite awesome and beautiful. And then to play with the band is, they're so good, and we played these songs enough now that we try and practice as best as we can before shows. But even when we don't get that, we can sit right in and we're comfortable enough with each other that it might not be the best show or it could be an incredible show. And we have, I think, a good chemistry at this point that we feel super comfortable being on stage with each other, and everybody behind the music is so talented and has worked really hard at being very talented for a while. And again, it's just an honor to have folks behind us that want to push this music. So
is there anything that you hope people will take away from your shows when they come to see you guys?
It's a good question. I think a good takeaway would just be having fun with topics that are heavy at times, light at times. I think that we put on a pretty fun show, and we definitely try to, at least. And some of the topics are super relatable and sort of universal. And yeah, I think just overall good feeling when you're leaving from the show and having a fun time. I think that we try and put that out there and try and provide people a space, an open space for people to feel like they can be themselves and comfortable with opening up, having fun, and letting loose.
And is there anything else musically coming up that you want to promote before we sign off?
Our next show we have potentially booked will be with Ned General Store again, which I'll leave it at that. We still have some more stuff to work on to announce that. But yeah, currently we're just pushing for the 20, trying to get as many folks there as possible. And I know Mike likes to put on a good show, and I think that at least at Gold Hill Store, we've always had that, and looking forward to bringing that down to Ned General Store. So at the moment, that's what we're working on. And I think through the fall, we'll probably be getting into the studio again and trying to get another album out. We have enough music now for, at minimum, at least another album. And we keep working on songs too. So we've definitely got backlog to keep going. So look out for Something Slight album number 2 in the future.
In that case, I think those are the big questions that I have on my end.
Yeah, thanks for asking us questions and reaching out and trying to help promote this show. It's really awesome that you're doing that.
Thank you so much, Theo, for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. His band, Something Slight, will co-headline with Canyon Collective at the Ned General Store, located at 112 East 2nd Street in Nederland, as part of the Equinox Party celebration on Saturday, September 20th, 2025, starting at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10 pre-sale and $15 at the door. You can find Something Slight's self-titled debut album on streaming services everywhere, and you can also find an EP of their demos on their Bandcamp now. You can also find the band on YouTube and on their Instagram page at somethingslight_music. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom of our homepage, or head to the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. Again, if you're interested in being involved in the podcast or in the newspaper in any way, shape, or form, be sure to email info@themountaineer.com, media@themountaineer.com, and or frontdesk@themountaineer.com, and we'll get something sorted for you. And finally, be sure to find all of our most important links at the very top of our new homepage and in individual episode descriptions of our podcast, where you can find our social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our community events calendar, where you can submit local events coming to your venue or your community. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Said to the breeze, I'll paint your words, you sing them to me. Won't you sing them clear, or you sing them true?
The song that you are currently listening to is called The Painter and the Priest. It was written by Theo Snead and performed here by his band Something Slight as one of 2 songs from their Wild Horse studio sessions. You can listen to those 2 singles as well as other singles and their self-titled debut album wherever you get your music, and you can purchase their demo EP on their Bandcamp now. They'll be performing at the Ned General Store, located at 112 East 2nd Street in Nederland, for the Equinox Party celebration with Canyon Collective on Saturday, September 20th, 2025, starting at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10 pre-sale and $15 at the door. To learn more about Something Slight and their music, be sure to check out their Instagram at somethingslight_music.
Before they know, there'll be 7 more bound. Yeah, it's each brush stroke every blurred line from the people they meet to the space they provide. Well, who they are cannot be unseen. For a world without them would be a world without me.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.